Thank you for your interest in the Holly Springs Comprehensive Transportation Plan. In this presentation, we will talk through the basics of the Comprehensive Transportation Plan, including an overview of what the plan is, a look into the project schedule, some information about what we found in our existing conditions analysis, how to get involved and have your voice be heard throughout this process, and finally, a preview of our next steps for the upcoming months. To get started, we have to first understand what a Comprehensive Transportation Plan, or CTP, will do for Holly Springs. The Comprehensive Transportation Plan will help to establish a vision for transportation in Holly Springs. This includes driving, walking, biking, and taking public transportation. This plan will identify the needs and deficiencies in the transportation system, such as congestion, safety, and connectivity concerns, and then identify recommendations, strategies, and projects to address these needs. The plan will also include an action plan for implementation that identifies projects to be completed in the near term, midterm, and long term. Finally, the CTP will identify potential funding sources in order to ensure the vision established in this plan can become a reality. The CTP development will be about a year-long process broken up into 4 main stages. We are currently in the first stage of this process, where we collect data to analyze the existing conditions and meet with Town Council, the Steering Committee, various stakeholders, and the public to establish a vision and project goals. The next phase of the plan will begin in March. In this phase, we will assess multimodal conditions and begin formulating recommendations. Starting in late summer, we'll begin to prioritize the recommended projects, develop cost estimates, and draft the final report. Finally, this plan will be brought to the Town Council for adoption in early 2022. During the data collection phase, we completed our existing conditions analysis. We'd like to share some key background and observations. Holly Springs is one of the core communities that make up southwestern Wake County. It also shares a boundary with the towns of Apex, Cary, and Fuquay-Varina. In the existing conditions analysis, we first established a study area that extends past the Holly Springs town boundary and encompasses Holly Springs urban service area, bordering Chatham and Harnett counties. This is because we know that the impacts of traffic and travel are not restricted to town limits, and we want to have as much context as we can when looking to improve the transportation system, while also responsibly planning to account for future growth. Taking a look at some of the demographic data, we can see that as of 2019, the population of Holly Springs was estimated to be over 36,000. This is up from 24,000 in 2010. This is a 47% increase in nearly 10 years. While this population data comes from the U.S. Census Bureau, the town estimates that we actually have closer to 40,000 people living in Holly Springs. It's important to note this growth because the last CTP was completed in 2011, a decade ago. We can see that Holly Springs has grown steadily since the last CTP was adopted, and we need to update this plan to keep up with the needs of a flourishing community. Next, we consider travel mode split and commuter flow. The data can also tell us a little bit about how people are getting around. We can see that in 2019, almost 80% of Holly Springs residents drove alone on their daily commute. We can also see the distribution of commuters traveling to, within, and away from town in their daily commute, showing us that the majority of Holly Springs residents work elsewhere in the region. The maps on this slide help further illustrate the commuter travel patterns. Here we can see that the majority of people who work in Holly Springs either live in town or in the neighboring towns. We also see hotspots for where Holly Springs residents are traveling for work. These destinations include Central Raleigh, Apex, Fuquay-Varina, RTP, and Durham, just to name a few. People are traveling, and it's important that we understand these travel patterns as we look into developing recommendations. While understanding commuting patterns is necessary for identifying these needs for our plan, we have to also consider how residents of Holly Springs travel within the town. Holly Springs is a growing community where people work, go to school, run errands, shop, dine, and recreate. This plan will develop recommendations that serve the town's community by improving the flow of traffic and connectivity in town. This project has a community-driven planning process. We need to hear from you what your priorities for transportation in Holly Springs are, be they connectivity, walkability, safety, or otherwise. Your input will influence the recommendations proposed in this plan, which will shape transportation in Holly Springs for decades to come. This plan can't succeed without the voices of Holly Springs residents, workers, businesses, and organizations involved. This plan is a collaborative effort across many agencies and stakeholders, including the Holly Springs Town Council and Planning Board, Holly Springs residents and advocacy group representatives, emergency service workers, business owners and educators, and agency partners such as the North Carolina Department of Transportation, the Capital Area Metropolitan Planning Organization, and Go Triangle. We hope that you'll stay involved in this process throughout the CTP development. This planning process includes 3 engagement phases spanning over the year-long timeline. Phase 1 runs from November of last year to the end of January 2021. This phase aims to raise awareness about the CTP, identify transportation needs, and develop our goals, vision, and priorities. Phase 2 begins in February and will end in July. This phase will analyze multimodal components and identify draft recommendations. The third and final phase will begin in August and end in early 2022. This phase will ask for public buy-in on refined recommendations, develop prioritization methodology, and undergo the adoption process. Your involvement in all of these phases is crucial to the success of this plan. The best way to stay involved and up to date on the CTP is to visit the project webpage at www.hollyspringsnc.gov/CTP. This webpage includes a project overview and schedule and has contact information if you have any questions or comments about the project. This webpage will also be updated frequently throughout this process with plan documents and announcements about engagement opportunities. The project webpage will also house a newsletter that will be released every other month. This newsletter will share project progress, announcements and upcoming events, and briefly summarize findings and reports along the way. If you know someone with limited internet access, feel free to share this newsletter with them. We want to make sure we allow everyone to stay informed on this process. Hard copies of this newsletter will also be available at Town Hall. The first public survey for this project is open for you to take. We encourage you to take this survey to provide your feedback on transportation in Holly Springs today and to voice your vision for the transportation network in the future. Please also share this survey with your friends and family to spread the word before it closes on February 1st. You can access the survey at publicinput.com/HollySpringsCTP or by scanning the QR code in this presentation. If you've already missed the deadline, don't worry. We'll have more engagement opportunities along the way. As we wrap up January, we're looking ahead to the next phase of this plan. In the coming months, we'll complete Phase 1 engagement and begin moving into Phase 2, finalize our vision and goals for the plan, and then we'll initiate project recommendations development. Thank you for your interest and participation in the Comprehensive Transportation Plan. We appreciate your help in establishing a vision for transportation in Holly Springs.